Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TMOF Wrestling Podcast. We are here with, this is a revamping, Ash.
Is that another term of vampire?
It's it's close, yeah. TMOF Wrestling Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're going to have a bit of a changing structure to try to bring the content more regularly, really, more consistently. So an episode a week. More often than not, potentially, it might just be myself, of course. Ash here is a fellow host of TMOF Wrestling. Today marks 3 years, Ash, since we started the podcast.
Crazy, isn't it?
3 whole years. Unbelievable, Jeff. But, yeah, potentially it could be myself, but we will be looking at guest hosts as well. There are a couple in the pipeline. Some of these we've been waiting for these for quite some time. But this will be available on all major podcasting platforms. It's available on YouTube here for the video version as well. But yeah, episode 87. Ash, we're going to get right down to it.
Yeah, bloody hell.
But I am your host. I am Russ, and fellow host today, of course, is Ash. Here he is. There might be a bit of a delay here. We're doing this on Skype.
Yeah, we're going back 3 years ago.
It's more than 3 years since I've used Skype, I tell you that. We used Zoom back in the pandemic. Yeah,
but we weren't on like a YouTube video, so...
No, YouTube's been a lot more sort of recent, hasn't it, really? But yeah, I think for YouTube, by the way, obviously you can find us at TMOF Wrestling on YouTube. We do our predictions videos. Tonight, when this goes out, of course, our WWE Payback predictions will be up.
Yep.
And I suppose we'll be recording some all-out predictions after this.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah,
but we are... Well, yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're here, though, Ash, to talk about AEW All In. Of course, the record-breaking event AEW put on in Wembley Stadium in London, here in England. This was a huge show. We were both there.
Yeah, not together, but we were there.
We are very rarely together, but it's hard to get tickets for the amount of us that are all sort of going and get them all together. Of course, they put the limits on to stop the scalpers from getting them and selling them on for quadruple the price, at least, if you're lucky. Pretty much. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that one today. Really our experience as a whole, with the whole day. We've obviously got, we're going to have different takes on it. We were in different seats, different angles, and different overall experiences, I guess, of the whole day.
Yeah.
We're going to jump into that one. Before we do, everybody, wherever you're listening to us, if you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, did you know that you can follow us? You can even leave a rating. Ash, 5 stars, the whole Meltzer.
Yeah. Oh, good old Dave.
Good old Dave. You can leave us a proper Dave on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to us on Google Podcasts, on Amazon, Audible, and many others, I believe, as well. Obviously, also this will be on YouTube, but wherever you listen to us, do drop us a follow, a subscribe, whatever the lingo may be. It really does help us out a lot. Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It really does. It does.
It does. It does.
It does. It does. But yeah, we absolutely would appreciate that. And, you know, as I say, we're going to be looking at doing a lot more consistent podcasts, episodes, and just content in general moving forward. So just a bit of a change around in the structure just to make sure that we're getting the most out that we can. So yeah, you can catch us on wherever you're catching us on, really. But before we go into AEW All In, Ash, we've not had proper time to I mean, we've missed quite a lot in terms of like what we would have probably talked about in depth over the last few months.
Yeah, tell me about it. How long is it since our last proper? Was it before? Like, before SummerSlam, weren't it?
I mean, realistically, it would have been, I think, when we was actually talking about something more sort of current in wrestling. Yeah. The live streams that we've been doing on YouTube, which they will remain. We're probably looking at those once a month now. Really just they'll just kind of be a random kind of thing, really, where we're just going to basically talk to you guys and in the comments, and we'll just talk wrestling all together.
Yeah, let's be honest. They were just random stuff we did, like what was it? The Google chat versus
which was great.
Was it Google?
It was Google Bard, yeah, versus
Bard, yeah.
ChatGPT.
That was it.
The real main event. It was great though.
Yeah, it's probably I want to say it's the best we've ever done because it was so stupid.
I mean, I was going to say it's tall order, but actually, it's not hard, is it?
Nah.
But yeah, we have missed a lot. But I think we would be remiss to start the episode really without talking about the tragic passing of Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, days after Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Day after? 2 days? 1 day?
I think it might have been the day after, but yeah, it was like really close together.
Absolutely heartbreaking, devastating. Terry Funk hadn't been in great health, but funnily enough, talking about the ChatGPT and versus Google Bard, Ash does an incredible Terry Funk impression on that one. Terry Funk's just he spans so many different generations, doesn't he? And you can say someone's a legend in this business, but Terry Funk really is a legend in the business. To put trivia for you, a weird fact, considering how close he and Mick Foley are, Terry Funk started wrestling the day Mick Foley was born.
That true?
Yeah.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
from Mick Foley himself. That is how long Terry Funk has been active, really, in pro wrestling. And he's given us some of the greatest moments. I mean, the ECW run, potentially, I suppose it depends on what era you're kind of from and what era that you watch or you were brought up with. My first introduction really was ECW, but then you had Chainsaw Charlie, of course, through the Attitude Era, into Terry Funk. So many great moments, though. I mean, the stuff from ECW, so innovative. The things with the ladder, doing the kind of whirly bird with it, that everybody's emulated since. We've seen, obviously, some tributes paid to Terry Funk during All In, and we'll come to those with certain spots. And, who's ever going to forget buying Mick Foley Mankind time during the the infamous Hell in a Cell match from King of the Ring 1998, where Terry Funk was literally chokeslammed out of his shoes.
They're probably the most legendary shoes in wrestling.
The most legendary shoes in wrestling.
Let me have a shoes that aren't more legendary than Terry Funk, I dare you.
Well, there's the shoes of a champion from LA Knight, but but no, Terry, and again, and we haven't even talked about Memphis, the time in Memphis. I mean, Memphis was always kind of in many ways, was the catalyst really to an ECW. They were way ahead of their time in terms of the violence and brutality that we would later see in wrestling. That was really obviously then hammed up through ECW, wasn't it?
Very much so.
But Terry Funk, an absolute legend, and it's so sad, but what a legacy, and all you can really do is thank him. I mean, we're guys in our 30s, but you've got people younger than us that love Terry Funk, people a lot older than us that love Terry Funk. That's a legacy that's that spans literal generations. I don't think you can really do much more than that through professional wrestling, can you?
Not very much so, no.
No. And then when we talk about legacies, I mean, when talking about Bray, it's not a competition, obviously, but I think it's the age that really struck me the most. I mean, he's basically around our age.
Yeah.
36 years old, passed away from what I believe then was a heart attack in his sleep.
Yeah, it was.
Caused by complications so he had a pre-existing heart condition, which seems to be the reason that he was off TV sort of shortly before WrestleMania this year, and it was exacerbated due to complications with contracting COVID. Mm-hmm. I did see the report that he was given a defibrillator, or not a defibrillator. Was it it might have been something like that, but he'd left it in the car, hadn't he? He hadn't used it.
That's what I saw, and he didn't have it with him on that
Yeah.
day, and he died in his sleep.
Just sad, really sad. And we said this during the WWE Payback predictions. It's still not really quite sunk in.
No, and especially when I've kind of made the mistake of watching the tribute video and then watching the tributes by the wrestlers, and then at the end it has, I think it's Samantha Irvin singing "He's got the whole world in his hands," and yeah, it's just not. You really shouldn't be watching this, but you have to.
I think that's, well, respect, but I mean it's beautifully done, wasn't it? Those tributes, they were beautifully done, both his and Terry's, I think. But you're right, the Bray Wyatt one, Wyndham Rotunda, it really hit. That one, it really hit hard, and it's just so sad and bizarre because it's so eerily similar to Brody Lee.
Yeah,
in the sense that it kind of came out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, because obviously we didn't know about these things, and like the story for a while was that Bray was coming close to returning.
Yeah.
And obviously what's happened, and unfortunately we're never going to see that return.
No. But again, we'll look at the legacy of that. And we saw Undertaker pass the torch. We'll probably never know what he said to him, and I think that's perfect. But Bray gave us, so many great memories, and whether you really liked the character or the angles or anything like that, nobody can deny that he brought something fresh, again, innovative, and really just something that WWE really needed at that time. And it was that kind of sense of danger that character could bring, particularly when he brought the Fiend in. Once we had the Fiend, he really did have the whole world in his hands. I mean, that was as much as it probably sucked to kind of have to go up against that. I mean, you see, look back to the Hell in a Cell match with Rollins.
Oh yeah.
But what a great, sells the merch, has great entrance music. Bray Wyatt's never had bad entrance music.
Definitely not. There's Mania 30 entrance.
It's still one of the best entrances of all time. That's my favourite entrance from him, actually. Really like it.
It's funny because, like you said about the character, didn't really help a lot, really. But I still think one of the best matches last 5 years is the match with Cena at Mania 36. With the 36.
The Firefly Funhouse kind of.
That's one of the best matches.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and that is resourcefulness, isn't it? And again, innovation during a time where what could you do? Wrestling in front of nobody, because that WrestleMania was literally just as lockdown had come in. They had to move everything. Yeah, I mean, if that wasn't it, I mean, they moved everything into the PC, and it was a WrestleMania in front of no people, which was difficult, because they're still trying to figure it out at this point. And how on earth can you figure that out when you're 2-3 weeks into something that's never happened in our lifetime before? So, the fact that he'd had that kind of more cinematic match, and as we saw with Undertaker and AJ Styles, it was fresh, it was new, it was different, and it's really good. And whether you like that stuff or not, again, wrestling is about having something for everybody. And I think Bray was pretty much for whether you loved him or hated him as the character. And obviously you were meant to hate him a lot of the time during, especially like the cult stuff and the white, he's done such an amazing, wonderful job through really like his whole career through WWE. And I really do think that, that it is a lasting legacy.
Definitely.
It's an absolute lasting legacy. And I think that final shot from the beginning of that, the opening of that SmackDown for the tribute show to both Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, where they closed out on the spotlight on the rocking chair. And if you know some of the stories about that rocking chair too, he used to carry the rocking chair with him to all the different shows when he was down in developmental and NXT. He would just put it into the back of his, whatever it was, his car, his van, whatever he was driving. And he would take it literally to every show with him. That's that same chair. Dedication to the gimmick.
Very, very much so. Which is something we probably need a lot more of in wrestling, but we're getting there.
Yeah. But Very sad. Very, very sad. And I think it really is going to take some time for all of this to kind of sink in. But, you know, it goes without saying, I think, really, we, you know, all thoughts and best wishes to both Terry Funk's family and Wyndham Rotunda. You know, they're the ones that suffer the most, the people that know them, that know the real people behind what we see on television. And, you know, and it hurts us just from a television character, you know, so you have to, you know, imagine what they're going through at this time. So just all the best wishes and positivity we can possibly send out to them. That's all you can do, isn't it? It's just very sad.
Very, very much so.
But we'll move to All In off the back of that, because I'm going to segue in with something that I was very glad that happened. This isn't going to be a very linear account of AEW's All In show. I think we're probably just going to sort of break down some of the key bits. We will go through matches and things, but it's not going to be sort of a typical review. Again, this is a recapping, really, of our experience live from Wembley Stadium. But I'd seen, Ash, I'm not sure if you'd seen this as well, but there was the kind of movement that was trying to be sort of started online that once again, Wembley Stadium is open stadium, there's no roof. No. So once it was going to get dark, everybody really wanted to try and kind of, you know, get as many fireflies out as possible in tribute to Bray.
Yeah.
It happened.
It did.
And it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. Yeah.
Because that was the thing. I saw a lot of people dressed up as Bray, like on the way there, and then I saw a lot inside the stadium. It's like, it's amazing. It's an amazing tribute, and it did make me think, if what happened didn't happen, what would they have? Would they just dress up as normal fans? But it's a good tribute.
It's brilliant, and again, you know, it's nice to see this sort of stuff. We get too much of the tribalism these days. It's an AEW show. There's no, you know, it's about wrestling at the end of the day, and you know, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. What an experience the whole thing was in general, you know.
Yeah,
and a beautiful tribute.
AEW didn't sell out Wembley. Wrestling sold out Wembley.
That was a quote somewhere. Who said that?
Probably me.
It wasn't. Yeah, you've stolen that from somebody. But it is true. Wrestling did sell out Wembley, and we are so hungry for big wrestling shows here in the UK. And I think we've proven that by the fact that we absolutely packed into Wembley. But yeah, you know, I think one last thing on that as well. When going through the doors, Ash, obviously there's all different sections to go through when you go to a stadium. And the one that I was going through, as I was queuing to get actually inside the stadium, Bray Wyatt's music come on. They were playing Bray Wyatt's theme.
Yeah, because I got in before you, when I was getting my shirt, which is somewhere. I
know you're not wearing your shirt. Where is it? This is mine.
Well, you want it all weekend, yeah?
65. I've put it on for this video. Every time I've been on camera for a video, I go, £65. I'm going to wear it every day of my life. It's worth it, though. It's a really nice shirt.
But yeah, when I get my shirt, I heard Bray's theme, and I knew it straight away. It's like that's good quality.
Just nice.
And then like 5 minutes later, they were playing Tarzan Boy. So I was thinking, what's going on?
Tarzan Boy. Oh. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about him in a bit, but
why? What did he do?
Well, we'd all like to know, to be honest. But yes, okay, right. All Elite Wrestling held All In, technically All In 2, but the first All In wasn't AEW. It was really the catalyst for AEW. But All In Wembley, All In London from Wembley Stadium. Attendance was 81,035.
And apparently legit.
It seemed legit, to be honest, looking in there. I didn't count all the heads, but I'd say that's probably about it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people go, there was empty seats, but it doesn't say, no one ever said it was a sellout. It just said they sold these many tickets.
The fact that they sold that many tickets, and when we're talking about breaking records, it is the biggest crowd. It's the biggest paid attendance in wrestling history. Mm-hmm. So you've had say WrestleMania 32, which it has surpassed, but WrestleMania 32's attendance was touted as like 100,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From Texas. But again, when you're looking at competitions and people that are just get to come along for free, like VIP kind of stuff, for people through the company, everything. When you're looking at actual paid tickets, this was the biggest one. It sold the most tickets for a wrestling event ever. And again, that is further testament to how much we love pro wrestling over here.
Yeah.
And how much we want it and we need it.
Yeah, because that if it was WWE that did that attendance, it wouldn't have been a big. No one would have made a big deal out of it. It was WWE, but because it's AEW, people think, oh, it's because AEW. No, it's because we want to see wrestling. We were going to get Sting. We knew we were going to get someone like Sting and like maybe Punk and MJF, Adam Cole, and all the people that we've seen for a long time now.
Yeah,
and it's the first time we get to see them, and then some for a long time, some for like a couple of years.
Yeah, and I think to your point as well, it's not to take anything away from AEW, because, let's be honest, if it was WWE here, yeah, it would have still been those numbers, maybe even more. One of the good things, and nobody can convince me otherwise, John Cena coming out at Money in the Bank, really anchoring for WrestleMania to be in London, they're going to want to smash that AEW record. And do you know what? I hope they do. For the pure reason, we're going to get more wrestling. And then AEW's already confirmed after All In that they're coming back again next year. So let them come back and smash it again even more. The rising tide lifts all ships. It's that old saying. It's absolutely true. And again, you let go of the fact that if you only like WWE, fantastic. Nothing wrong with it. If you only like AEW, wonderful. Nothing wrong with it. But it's still professional wrestling. And the more of it that we have, the more option there is, the better it is for everybody. Not just the wrestlers, but fans too.
Yeah, they got a better chance of seeing people you've probably never seen before.
Yeah, exactly. Like to your point, Sting. I never in my lifetime thought I'd see Sting.
After that match with Rollins, 7 years ago? Whatever it is now? Thought, no, he's got. He probably never done like a house show in the UK or whatever, but to say that Sting wrestled and I was there, and my brother was a fan before me of Sting.
Your brother was like a big Sting fan, yeah.
And just getting the chance to see Sting, it's like we'll get to him in a match, but I did get emotional when his entrance happened. But
who didn't? It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, out of this world.
It was amazing. So you, of course, you went with a couple of family members.
Oh yeah. So I bought a ticket for me and my brother, and went on the train with my cousin, his wife. When they enjoyed the show as well, and tell me someone who didn't enjoy the show, Jay. But yeah, it's like seriously, there was a lot of people from Banbury.
Yeah.
That were on that train, back, forwards and back. So
yeah. From all over, and it wasn't even just the UK either. I saw a lot of Spanish people, German people, French people. It's a lot easier to come over here than obviously going over to the States, isn't it? So of course it was going to attract people from the European continent. So it's going to bring people that again otherwise might not necessarily see it. It's just a brilliant thing for everybody.
I haven't seen it back. I recorded it on because it was on ITV4 last night. 5 hours 16 minutes. So that includes breaks, I guess. But I haven't watched it back yet. But I don't know if Green Shirt guy, because you know how he did Puerto Rico. I don't know if he was there.
I'm not sure, because he's more of a WWE guy, isn't he?
But he's done the AEW before, right?
But he's very much consistent with the WWE ones. At least this year he is. He's been at every one.
Maybe.
Green Shirt guy, if you ever see this, let us know who you are. You're a celebrity.
Not a subscriber or whatever we're on at the minute on YouTube.
Yeah, it was special for me as well. I went with my dad, just me and him. Since I was a little boy watching wrestling, and I'd always, put the VHS on, and it'd be like an Insurrection or an old SummerSlam, Kamala, Undertaker, and all that kind of stuff.
That's right too, then.
Yeah, But like, I'd be watching those, and we still watch wrestling now together, and it's one of those kind of things that I can still keep from my childhood, being able to watch wrestling with both my parents, but my mum can't get about so much. So, but for my dad, to go and watch wrestling live together, we've never done it, never seen a live wrestling show before. So for us to have gone to Wembley Stadium for the biggest wrestling event so far, and see the likes of Sting and CM Punk and Adam Cole, MJ, Orange Cassidy, because my dad loves Orange Cassidy. But all these different sort of generations of like where you've kind of grown up. It's hard to really put into words. It's soppy, but it's sentimental, and I'm really, really, really happy with it. The overall experience would always be, for me, that it was great to go and see that with my dad more than anything. The show could have been quite low par, but the fact is, which it wasn't, by the way, but it could have been, and it's the experience. And I think that's why these episodes, like when we did this last year for Clash at the Castle, this is what makes these ones really interesting and exciting to do, because you get to relive the experience again. You're not just reviewing what you just saw as a television product. You were there. You were part of the whole atmosphere. You were part of the show. And it was just an incredible show, I think, from start to finish.
Oh, definitely. Even the buy-in stuff was amazing, considering.
Yeah. So
going back to Clash, Eli's year on Sunday.
That's gone around quick, that has, hasn't it?
It has, and we're talking about because like after Clash, I was thinking that's great. We might get another show like 3 or 4 years where we go to that one again, and it's like within a year, it's like mad.
Wow.
Completely different shows put together, and they're still amazing.
Yeah, you can't grumble at it. Cannot grumble at it. But
and to think, in about a month's time, is it? We're doing Impact.
Yeah, and that looks like potentially could be
taped for TV.
Yeah, hopefully it will be, because that would be good.
But
more wrestling, gotta love it.
Yeah, annoyingly, Ospreay's going to be at Newcastle. I don't know if he's going to be at Coventry, which we're doing.
Yeah.
But if he's doing Coventry, we get to see Ospreay again. Hell yeah.
I've got some sources.
Which ones?
From other people that also attended at All In weekend. Again, different experiences. So we'll start with some of theirs, obviously, because we're going to rattle off ours now. So Jay, of course, is another. We started with yourself, Jay, and myself 3 years ago. Jay isn't always available, and hence why we're changing the sort of the structure a little bit, because of Jay's just got a different sort of life to us. He's got kids. So
kids. He's got another one, has he?
Well, in the general sense, Ash, he's got a kid, so hence he's got kids. He's got more kids than you and I together. Jay Slater. Well, Jay Slater, he was similar tickets, I think, to me. I was quite far back. I was definitely nosebleed, but I think restricted kind of view. So from that part of it, he's same as me. I'm going to want to get closer tickets next year. But a lot of the sort of stories and stuff that I've got from people that I've spoken to that have attended have all been about the people around them. And again, it's the experience, isn't it? That whole experience of like what you've got around you. But he said that they had a geezer, didn't know the words when Jericho came out and just kept saying Judas. Judas, 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 Judas in. Judas in, my Judas. I imagine that's how it went. It wasn't me, by the way. I wasn't the one singing it. But that's something from Jay there. Our good friend Jake, again, he was sat really close to you. When you both put your pictures in, I thought you were sat on each other's lap.
Yeah, I think he was definitely closer than me, though, weren't he?
Potentially. It's hard to tell, though, when you're taking a photo from the phone, because it depends how much you've zoomed in.
Because has he got videos as well? Because that's why I don't want to put any my stuff up, because it might be his instead.
He very well might do. But Jake had a couple of little fun bits as well. There was a guy that made him laugh. It was a drunk guy, a few rows in front of him, started waving an inflatable kangaroo about. And then he started to throw it down the stand. Once he lost that, he started throwing his chicken wings.
I I can't remember when it was, but I'm sure I saw something in the corner of my eye getting thrown like a few rows to the left of me. So
that's probably where it was. Yeah, inflatable kangaroo and chicken wings. So this is like
wings.
you know on social media where you get like the spotted, you know, wherever you're from. This is spotted all in. If you're kangaroo man, chicken wing man, then own up. You threw kangaroos. Got one more here from Lucy, another good friend of ours. She went for a bit more of the wider experience. So she actually attended Box Park before the show, and it was just a DJ they had on there. I think there was 2 parts of it, but she left before the second one, mainly just because, again, like I think sitting in one place for too long, you know, you're going to be sat down for hours in the actual stadium, and you're kind of just in one place in there. She just wanted to get outside. But she said it was a DJ. Potentially, there was early access to merch, and there might have been some special merch there, but she's not too sure. But she didn't sort of stay for the whole thing, as I say, just because wanted to get outside at that point. But the second part was hosted by Gene Money, so that would have probably been quite good fun. I think there may have been karaoke there. This is where they also had the wrestling themed cocktails.
All right.
Like the Bebe, the Better Than You. I can't remember what they was all called, but they had like wrestling themed names, didn't they? The orange, whatever.
I've not seen that. I've just seen footage from Lana Austin's Instagram about doing karaoke. I haven't watched it. I don't know what they were singing, but there was karaoke.
That could very well have been Box Park. Yeah, maybe.
It was definitely Box Park. I don't know whereabouts though.
Okay. Where my entrance was near Box Park, because I stood in the queue outside for ages once we'd come off the train. Because the thing is, I was in the queue for 10 minutes and it was a really long queue. But once you're in it for 10 minutes, you kind of have to be committed, because if you leave it, you might join another one that's even longer. So I just had to stay. But I was there plenty of time before. It wasn't like Clash last year where I basically walked in as Madcap Moss was coming out. There was I had a lot more time this year, luckily. But yeah, everybody's experience, again, I think seeing that many people about as well, all coming around doing different things. There was a lot of wrestling that weekend. Obviously, Rev Pro, Jericho attacking Ospreay during Rev Pro the night before All In. Of course, obviously leading up to that.
As well.
Progress had a show on as well. There was probably some other bits as well, I think, wasn't there? But
yeah.
I mean, let's talk about All In. Let's talk about the. I guess let's go into some of the matches. Ash, I know we have already sort of talked about this a bit, but we'll put some different spins on it. Match of the night. AEW All In London match of the night.
That's the easy one for me. The tag team title match, FTR versus Young Bucks.
It was amazing. Best of the 3, do you think? I think it was for me.
I don't remember the second one that much. I remember the first one. I remember that being good, but I thought they could have done a bit more. And then, like I said, I don't remember the second one that often. Third one, unbelievable. Probably, I'd say yes, the best. But like I said, I don't remember the second one that much. That was in the Dynamite, weren't it?
It was. Were they both Dynamites, weren't they?
I thought the first one was like all out.
Oh, it might have been. Do you know what the problem is? Because with the first one, because it was during pandemic, so everything was from Daly's place. So I can't remember what was Dynamite and what wasn't. But I think this was the best one of the trilogy.
I want to say the second one was with a crowd, but I might be wrong on that one as well.
No, I think you're right, because the Young Bucks were heel by that point as well, weren't they?
And they always heel.
They got a good pop, I thought, All In.
Yeah, I like the pre-entrance, because I was like that was. It was nice to know it wasn't a Cream reference, because there was a lot.
Well, did you see what they came out in?
Freddie Mercury jackets, I know, but
yeah, so it was there.
Yeah, but not
the big part of that. I think that's I genuinely think that's an American thing. So obviously it's a huge thing with us, like Queen playing Wembley, but I feel like it's legendized. Is that going to be a word? It's a word now. Probably. The legend of that is so much greater, I think, over in the States than perhaps it is even here. You know, that Queen Wembley concert, I think, is like it is really high up for our good friends in the States.
Yeah, because it's Live Aid as well, and then you got the Wembley show like a year later.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I wonder if that is to them what the Michael Jackson Super Bowl performance might be for a lot of us, because that gets talked about a lot as well.
Yeah, it does actually. Never seen it though, so I don't know how good it is.
I've seen it. It's Michael Jackson during his prime, whatever you sort of think of him and whatever the things are, but he was a very talented performer. But yeah, they came out dressed as Freddie Mercury. Really good entrance. All the entrances were pretty much grand, weren't they? But this was a fantastic match.
I just realised, who is it? The woman wrestler dressed up like Freddie Mercury.
Oh, Emi Sakura.
Why didn't they have her perform?
Where was Emi Sakura? That's what we need to know.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
Because I think she's doing Ring of Honor like this week or next week. So they've missed out, man.
Next year we'll get a next year, maybe.
Yeah, this match is unbelievable.
Brilliant. I think, was that the first time we've seen somebody kick out of the big rig?
Possibly.
I think it was, and actually it happened twice, because obviously the Young Bucks, I can't remember if it was Matt or Nick, but kicks out of the big rig. Then the Bucks hit the big rig on FTR, and then of course, eventually they hit that kind of big rig out of nowhere to actually then finish the match, which is what I really liked with it as well. It had a proper solid finish, but that whole match start to finish was, I thought, really good. I do think that genuinely was match of the night, at least for me. One thing I've seen people talk about online, and again, to take a lot of this with a pinch of salt, because there are a lot of people, there is a lot of trolls, really, unfortunately, because it's internet. That's part of the product, isn't it? But there's a lot of people really trying to downgrade and discredit the show any sort of way they can, really. And one of the things that's coming up is saying that, well, the fans weren't that interested in it because it didn't seem very loud. But that's Wembley, isn't it? It's open air. The sound just kind of goes out, because I could faintly hear certain chants, and they were probably thunderous, but it's just such a big place that it doesn't all get compacted in like at, say, Principality Stadium for Clash, where you've got the closed roof.
My camera's gone off.
It has, yeah. It's just you right there. I guess we'll just carry on, though.
Hang on. Let me just again.
Well, it's just me for a moment. But
there we go. Back on.
There he is.
Yeah,
have you seen any of that? Because I thought it was thunderous all night. But I have watched some of this back, and there are points it does seem quite quiet, but it wasn't when you were there.
Because I heard a chant, and you did hear this. The Wheeler's got a gun, Wheeler's got a gun. I don't know how long that was on for, but like there's bits where I could hear it behind me, and then a couple of minutes later I heard it from like around the stadium. So yeah,
I think the problem is AEW's never quite been on par with WWE, and it's not about comparing, but they've never been quite on par with, say, what you get sound quality wise with WWE. WWE can have those big WrestleMania shows, and even open stadium ones like WrestleMania 31, and it still sounds thunderous because the sound quality is better there. The crowd was genuinely so hot the whole night. And there was a lot of those kind of what you'd expect from chants over here, isn't it? And the singing and everything. Again, one of the other things my dad quite likes. My dad's quite a fan of the "Shut the fuck up" chant, which Jeff Jarrett got during the buy-in. But yeah, it was brilliant. But yeah, it really genuinely, for anybody that is wondering, it was honestly thunderous in there. But it's just, I think because of the fact it is open air, it doesn't really help, because that sound rises and escapes. It's not. It doesn't compact it all in there, but it was so loud all night long. What do you think the loudest pop was? Let's move to the loudest pop. Yeah, I've got mine. I think it was tough, but I actually, the loudest reaction, not pop, loudest reaction to anything all night. There's a few big contenders.
Well, probably Sting's entrance would be one, with Darby, obviously.
Yeah, I went nuts for the Sting entrance, but we'll come to that, I think, next, if you want
to. The Adam Cole baby was loud around me.
Yeah, and even more so because they denied us of it during the pre-show,
which I love. Of course,
brilliant, wasn't it? But Aussie Open obviously attacked them before we all can do the Adam Cole baby. Brilliant.
Because you save that for the main event.
Yes, exactly. Do you know, honestly, and again, it might just depend on the section that you were in, but for me, the loudest reaction to anything the whole night was CM Punk. When he came out, it was the weirdest. I've never heard anything like it. It was genuinely really I loved it. But it was that initial like, yeah, but that yeah just then eventually kind of got like eaten by the booze.
Yeah,
And
I felt the same.
it was a weird, like I've never heard like that weird mashup of a yeah and a boo together, like to that extent, because it was thunderous where I was sat.
I don't know about you, but I didn't know what I was expecting for CM Punk's entrance, because I thought it'd be a pop because it's CM Punk. But no,
It was going to be a reaction, wasn't it? It was going to be loud.
A reaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like there was a lot of cheers, and then it's just I heard more boos than cheers. So does that mean he had a mixed reaction, or was it more...
Oh, it was definitely a mixed reaction. There's no denying that. But I do think it was the loudest reaction. If we're going to talk about, say, an entrance, if we're going to talk about somebody making an entrance, I think Punk really had the loudest reaction of the night. The Sting one, I think we'd have cheered Sting anyway, but because of the song he came out to, it was this whole, like, you kind of popped for the song, really. And that's not saying any, obviously we all loved to see Sting, but the fact that he came out to the song that he did, that was like, it was like, oh my God, it's like that amazing surprise for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the Jack the Ripper entrance, and then all of a sudden it's like, hang on, they're playing Seek and Destroy. Whoa, what?
I lost my shit to that. I loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that then if you want now. I mean, that the match as a whole was great. I mean, because it's, you know, Christian Cage again. I've always wanted to see Christian.
Yeah, Christian Cage coming out to his old TNA theme, where instead of the clock, it was Big Ben on the big screen. I don't know if you saw that.
The Big Ben I saw, yeah, that was great. Well, I had to kind of like, as much as I wanted to obviously watch in-ring action, I couldn't help but have to look up at the screens occasionally, because the trouble was, my view was I was where those kind of pillars are to hold up the the shelter and where the screens were coming down from. It was like right in front of me, so like I could only really see kind of like the two like either side of the ring, and most stuff is going to happen in the middle. Mm-hmm. Obviously, where you're going to land your bumps and stuff. So, a lot of the time when they were kind of just there, I had to look at the screen. It was the only way to really know what was going on.
My view was great. I couldn't see the entrance ramp.
Yeah,
I could see fire or like some pyro, but I could see everything. But my bad habit, and my brother had the same thing, was looking at the screen, even though we could see the action.
Yeah, it's like subtitles though. I think like when they're on, your eyes are drawn to it. Definitely. You can't really help but go and look to it. But yeah, like I said, I didn't really have the option to it. I had a fairly decent view of the ramp. I couldn't see the stage, so I couldn't see where they were coming out from, like face on, because I was to the side. But I could see them like once they were out and go down the ramp. But I did get a good view of most of the pyro, really, because I got obviously any of the fire pyro that was on the stage. I got any of the pyro that was shooting off from the shelter, and I could see the fireworks obviously from outside the stadium.
Yeah, I could see the fireworks from outside the stadium, but I could barely see the flames.
Yeah, I don't think you would have done, because the whole entrance was blocked by that shelter part, wasn't it? Yeah. So for you, but yeah, Sting's entrance.
Yeah, Sting's entrance is just like, I kind of feel bad for Darby Allin, because this is Sting's entrance, not yours, mate.
The thing is, Darby's great. It was great seeing Darby there, but Sting's first time wrestling in Wembley, and there's 81,035 people there. How many of us have ever seen Sting before and might not see him again? You know, and that's not I don't mean that in like a grim way or anything like that, but we don't know if he's going to be active next year. You know, the man's in his 60s. He is fantastic, but you got to cherish these sort of things. Like, that's a moment. Yeah. We might only get that once. CM Punk, different kind of reasons, but that might be the only time we see him. So
Jack Perry, or wait.
We'll come to it, but you know, we shouldn't really sully our overall experience, because again, that sort of stuff was happening. We didn't see that, did we? But the match itself was. I enjoyed the match. There was great spots in it, but again, it's like I think from an experience standpoint, you take away the lasting impression is what you can remember, and just Sting coming out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica.
Yeah.
As funny as it sounds, like the match was very good. I'm not doing the match down, but like that is a memory that's going to be, live on forever for me. Just being there for that.
There's a couple of things about that match that I didn't help. Like when Luchasaurus comes out the entrance, goes away, then Nick Wayne comes in, who I had no idea that was Nick Wayne because I've not really been watching that much until someone mentioned it. Then gets a chokeslam on the skateboard twice, I think it was.
At least once it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Nick Wayne is basically the new Jungle Boy for Christian to be really mean about his dad. So that's the gimmick now. So.
And then I think Swerve's hair was sticking out during the finish, so he shouldn't have been buried.
Oh, come on. You can't call that, can you?
I just thought, well, it's wrestling.
You can't. You imagine that? You're not buried. You haven't been buried because your hair's sticking out. You'd be all right.
Yeah.
I had to get it in somewhere, didn't I? It had to happen. No, I enjoyed it. I did. I really enjoyed that match. There wasn't a match on there I didn't really enjoy. There was some slower. I think saying that, you're going to say this, I think now anyway, actually. But it's not to put a downer on it, but we talked about this already. But the match that just felt less than we kind of expected from it.
Well, I wasn't a big fan of the Bullet Club Gold and the Casher against the Golden Elite. I wasn't a big fan of it myself at the time. If I watch it back, I might enjoy it more, but at the time, I wasn't a fan. Cause there was parts where I just got confused who was like Legal Man or like.
It's because of the Lucha rules.
Yeah, but we weren't told this.
No, and I think that's what did it. So, admittedly, because I really need the toilet, so I wanted to see the entrances. So I waited for all the entrances to come out, and then as soon as they were all in, I sprinted out, went to the toilet, and by the time I come back in, there was just people everywhere, and it felt like it just sort of stayed like that for a long time. And again, I was just like, I don't really understand what's going on. Like nobody's really tagging. But yeah, that was why. But you're right. I don't recall the stipulation being made sort of public to everybody that it was going to be Lucha tag rules.
Yeah, and like if I was told that, I probably would enjoy it more. Like I said, I need to watch it back because I haven't watched it since I was there. So
yeah,
I might say it, but I didn't think it was a bad match. I thought it was pretty good because obviously I got the prediction right.
You don't have to go there.
I do. And I was like, it's good, but I'm not a massive fan. And then Meltzer's ratings came out today or yesterday.
Yep.
4.5 out of 5.
We'll do Meltzer's ratings in a bit if you want. If you want to go through it. There are people that love to hear it in there. So
yeah, but I was like, I don't know where he's getting that from. But like I said, if I watch it later on and go, actually, this match was pretty good. It's probably just not knowing what was going on.
That probably is it. Like, because if we took a step back from ourselves right now and went, why are these two idiots not saying really good stuff about a match that had Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, Jay White, Juice Robinson?
Yeah, getting to see Jay White is like one of my favorites. Yeah. Kenny Omega is one of the best in the world, and like Ibushi is one of the best in the world, and Hammond's one of the future superstars. Like, will probably be like the main event like next year or so. Like next few years.
He kind of already wasn't he? I mean, it's a bit of a weird one that. I think more than anything, a weird one for me was the match. Just it felt like it was there really to make Takeshita a threat, which worked wonders because that entrance I thought was brilliant. I said this to you, and anybody listening, it'd be interesting to know if you kind of felt the same way. But when my sort of favorite era of NXT was Tommaso Ciampa, like coming out to no music, like that sort of time period. Yeah. And when Ciampa used to come out to that no music, it was perfect. It was brilliant. This was like, it kind of felt like that, but obviously he had music, but it was just that one long, kind of just dull, like tone all the way through, like ominous kind of all the way through. It was brilliant. Yeah, it worked. And you had that, obviously, with that, which has been like a long-standing thing for a long time now, with the funny Don Callis paintings. But, the two of them with their bow and arrows, it cracks me up.
Doesn't it feel weird that they still want to make him like a big face in the future? Like a bit.
Sometimes, though, someone has to be a big heel, don't they? And then you start cheering him as a heel. Sometimes that's the best way to go about it. It gives you an edge, I guess, as a heel, doesn't it? And that's what he's got now. He's got an edge. So...
also, wasn't he one of our first Russell Crate signings?
He was, yeah, I believe so. Second or third month.
Yes.
But yeah, really impressive. I think, him and Kenny's going to be brilliant. I think that's the other thing with that match, wasn't it? There's a lot of stuff in there that you can see one-on-one matches with down the road. But, we were lucky enough to see them all together. Yeah. And again, it's the one that I was just surprised I didn't enjoy it quite as much as the others, but it's a long time to be there for as well. Like, and you have to pace yourself a bit. You do, because you sat there for a good 5+ hours, so you do have to pace yourself somewhat. We talked about the Punk reaction. I do want to just say about that match, that was probably my second or third favourite match of the night. Punk and Jay.
Up in my top 3.
I thought it was really good, considering what had happened, obviously, apparently just before it, which we might as well just talk about now if you want.
Yeah.
Just get it out of the way with. So what happened?
So the match before that, because that was the Punk Joe was match was the opening of the main card.
Yeah.
On the buy-in or 0 hour, because they got the same
0 hour.
It was Hook versus Jack Perry for the FTW title and FTW rules. There's also no thing they actually said that in the announcement. But, wasn't it like the suplex on the limo? After that, Jack Perry went, "That's real glass," or something like that.
So I think the order was he did the Rolling Thunder on top of the limo to Hook. Yeah, then he went up to the camera and he said, and again, we didn't know this at the time.
No, because we can't hear it.
Exactly. But in the camera, he had looked into it and went, "Yeah, it's real glass. Cry me a river." And that is a shot at CM Punk, because if you'd been following, the news and everything up to that point, there was reports of a backstage incident where Jack Perry wanted to use glass in a match, real glass in a match, and all of the AEW officials were telling him, no, it's a silly idea, which it is a silly idea. But they were telling him it's a silly idea, don't do it. And he wasn't having any of it. So CM Punk was allegedly called in to talk him out of it, I guess, as a veteran. And, Punk's standing within the company is volatile, I guess, with everybody. Not the right word for what I'm trying to say, but he's not. It's very divisive. Punk is a veteran, but at the same time, a lot of people don't respect him backstage, and I think that's obviously going to be the case for Jack Perry. So he was using the real glass here because it's a real windscreen, but then they do the suplex spot, which I couldn't see at the time, but when you do watch it back, you can see he does cut all of his arm and everything. But obviously the match happens, he goes to the back, and the report is, well, I say the report, there's lots of different reports, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a report that when he gets back, he gets choked out by Punk because they had an argument. There was a story about Miro and Punk nearly got in a fight, but apparently that's a joke. I don't think it's a real story.
Because apparently they're on good terms. But the Jack Perry one there, one of the stories that leads up to the choking out thing is because apparently, obviously, again, remember, CM Punk and Samoa Joe is the first match of the main card. Jack Perry and Hook is the last match of the 0 hour. So Punk's going to potentially be in Gorilla, and Jack's going to pass him. And apparently Jack bumped him or something like that. So Punk choked him, and whether or not that's like a proper front face lock or he just grabbed him by the neck or whatever happened. But altercation there that has since now resulted in the suspension of both of them. And of course, we've got All Out coming up in a couple of days from Chicago, Illinois. What's going to happen?
Well, apparently the rumor was that it's going to be Punk versus Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks.
For the
Yeah.
real.
Ricky Starks.
The real world title. But
Yeah.
apparently now that it's going to be Ricky Starks against Ricky Steamboat.
Wow. Okay. Tomatoes.
Yeah, I think that'd be a better offer, isn't it?
Oh, I'd love to see me some Ricky Steamboat. It makes sense as well because he attacked him obviously a number of weeks back, but that's in a nutshell. That's what happened, and of course it's just quite sad because of how much of a monumental success All In was. You know, we have to focus on these negatives, and it's just a difficult thing. Like, because every time I just think, you know, Punk's sort of got a point with something, but at the same time you can't ignore the fact that like he's the common factor in every single one of these things. But then how much of that is potentially they're riling him up because they know that's how he's going to react? But then off the same token, do you then say, well, that's his fault because he shouldn't be reacting the way he does? It's just a whole thing, isn't it? But it just takes away, I feel, from the success and how positive All In London was for pro wrestling, at the very least for us in the UK, but potentially the ramifications for that across the world, because there are other places out there that have tremendous crowds. The other one really this year that stands out is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico deserves something big there because that was an amazing crowd this year.
And a really good show in general.
Yeah. But,
one more thing,
that's what happened, I guess.
A couple more things about the Punk situation. One story is apparently he lashed out at Tony Khan.
Yeah, heated exchange was the.
I don't know what was said or what was done. Also, apparently there is CCTV footage of this incident with Jack Perry, so it may get released, it may not. Who knows?
Oh.
Can you imagine? Dark Side of the Ring, 5 years time.
Dark Side of the Ring. I was going to say, what was the old WWF one when they had that weird CCTV angle for a while and then it just sort of went away with no explanation?
GTV.
That was it.
And watching back some of 2002 Raw, they had this thing called F View, which is basically the same thing, but not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was. I like to see it personally because I didn't know about what was going home, so I don't know when people found out about this.
There was people was online next to me shortly after before the main show started, and I could hear rumblings that something had happened between Jack Perry and Punk then. So it must have whoever was backstage leaked it really quick.
Well, someone must have good Wi-Fi then, because I couldn't have done that.
No, well, they were probably actually hooked up to the stadium Wi-Fi.
I was going to, but I couldn't be bothered.
There's no point, is there?
No.
But yeah, the buy-in matches, to cover those quickly, we did say it was quite a good buy-in, but I think realistically, obviously, MJF and Adam Cole won the Ring of Honor tag titles. That was cool, and sets up obviously for how they, what the finish was for the main show. But I guess really the big thing from the buy-in was seeing Grado, wasn't it? Really, because it had been hinted, not hinted, but it had been teased for a while.
It had, and I kind of didn't expect Jarrett, even though it was like this Grado thing would be great, but I wish it was a match. And then when Jeff's music hit, I was like, yeah, I'm going to see Jeff Jarrett. And then doing the typical American promo in England. And I swear, every time I do this, we're English fans. We don't care what the bad stuff. We're just going to cheer you.
We're going to cheer because we love it. We love the banter.
And then I personally was like, when Paul White's music hit, I was like, oh, it's not Paul White. It's back to like into 2010, 2011. Remember when it was like a surprise person is going to make an appearance? And
I know, but that's different though, wasn't it? That was like back when every surprise was always Big Show. I'd never seen Big Show, never seen Paul White before. And then obviously, at least, saw him live and it was great. Yeah. But mind you, did he look small next to Satnam Singh?
Yeah, that was scary. Even from a distance, like how big this guy is. But then I just thought, because I didn't realise that Anthony go with him, and then I just wish Grado had a proper entrance and not just.
Because maybe they'll do something different next year, though. Like they'll maybe play on it again and actually give him a match next year.
Maybe, but like there was a pop. It was just that Grado's name just appeared.
I do think one thing to bear in mind, though, And I said this whenever I said this on something we've recorded somewhere. I said that I would anticipate that a lot, and I mean a lot, of people that were attending All In might not even necessarily watch AEW.
Probably not.
Because I met a lot of people, talked to a lot of great people over the course of the day. Most of the people I actually spoke to aren't even a casual fan. They just know Sting. They know CM Punk. They know, but again, this is what I mean. Wrestling sold this show because from what you said before, because we don't. It's a wrestling show in Wembley for the first time since 1992, and that was a different Wembley Stadium. But it's not something you get every day. Like for everybody, this was like a big thing. It's like, oh, wrestling. I watched that as a kid. Oh, Sting's going to be there. So that massively helped. And but I think for somebody like Grado, that's probably where the problem was, because for people that aren't really necessarily, if they're not even watching AEW really, or watch wrestling much anymore, and they're definitely not watching the British wrestling scene, and they're not going to probably know who Grado is.
Probably not. It's a shame because we've seen him before.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If you watch the British Independence, or even if you'd have watched the short stint of the World of Sport rerun, well, not rerun, but when they tried to kind of revive it, then you might be familiar with Grado from there. But aside from that, if you're not watching wrestling, you won't know who he is. So it wasn't a big deal.
No,
but
it's a shame.
For those of us that it was, and so hopefully next year. But I think.
Do you want to talk? I was going to say, do you want to mention because when I got in my seat, it was the contract signing between Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah, I mean, I was only really going to say it was a cool segment, cool to see Miro, but Simon Miller was a security guard, so we'll give that an up.
Leon Slater was one of the wrestlers there.
I thought I saw a man like Doris in the Stadium Stampede. Yeah, I think he was one of the security guys when Kingston and Claudio and maybe Wheeler Yuta were all at the bar area in like the Royal Box bit.
Not Mercedes.
Yeah, oh yeah, we totally forgot about Mercedes. I showed her a lot during the night, didn't they? So she's probably going to be there soon.
The time they showed it on TV was weird, or like on the big screen. Because the only time I saw on big screen was after the Hook match.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Then during the trios tag match, the tag title match, they showed her. But I don't know if she's signed yet, but she's still injured, so we'll see what happens in the future.
I think it's likely, isn't it? It felt very NXT-esque, didn't it? When they used to show whoever the next sort of big signer would be sat in the crowd. It was a bit like that, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know who that was next to her, because that wasn't her husband. I'm just saying, it's not.
Somebody follows Mercedes about, don't they?
No, I just know that she was married to someone who was one of the people on Up Down now.
Oh wow! But she was shown there. That was probably really about it, wasn't it? Because I half expected Jack Whitehall to be there. Obviously, he opened up for the Double or Nothing show in 2019.
Yeah, but that was more to do with it being ITV, wasn't it? And I don't think he's ITV.
He's a wrestling fan. He trained to be a wrestler at one point. Jack Whitehall.
Yeah, the only people I saw around London that were like wrestling, like YouTube or whatever, was Cultaholic. But briefly, I didn't see a lot of people. That was the thing. I was looking about seeing like if there's anyone about, but I only saw like one or two from like Cultaholic, and that was it.
I just saw a lot of people with really cool replica belts. I saw the IWGP heavyweight title, the newer one that kind of looks like Diva's title.
Yeah.
And I saw my favourite one, because it is one of my favourite belt designs of all time, but it's the WCW United States Championship. I love that belt.
One.
It's great, isn't it, that one? But yeah, I saw somebody with that one.
Yeah. I saw a WWE, the old United States title, like before they changed it to the new one.
I saw that one as well. Yeah.
A few posters, but I didn't really get a good chance to see what they said.
No, there was a lot of good merch, really. But again, if you wanted a replica AEW World Championship, that was £850.
Yeah.
And if you wanted the replica TNT title, that was £650. So, Yeah, a lot of money. But match wise, we'll reel off some more. Obviously, just big bits really. Jericho's entrance obviously was a huge thing.
Yeah,
although
Fozzy playing them out.
Right, I was going to ask you about this. Was that live or was it not?
Jericho, I'm not sure about Jericho's
Jericho
voice.
was definitely singing it.
You could tell he was singing, but I don't know if it was like.
But was the band playing?
The band weren't playing.
I don't think they were playing
It
either, because
sounds
I did watch that back.
It suspiciously sounded like the CD.
Yeah.
Or Skype.
I think it was.
Not Skype. Spotify.
He just put Spotify on. I don't think it was either, you know.
Because we knew we knew they were in London because they did a show on the Friday, I think it was, in London. Then obviously Jericho doing Red Pro, so they can do Saturday. Then yeah.
I think
cool.
it was recording. It was. Don't get me wrong. The whole thing was awesome anyway.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it was when we went to football the next day, and your brother was talking about this.
Yeah.
Because then I went home and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, I think it is. But it also jogged my memory. Do you remember the show where just the lead guitarist played for Judas?
Yes.
And it was bloody terrible.
I don't think it was Jericho's entrance, was it? Didn't he do an entrance for like Jade? Or am I getting it mixed up with another?
The one Jade Cargill had one, and I thought that one was sick. I like that one. Yeah. I'm sure this was a Fozzy one. I'm sure it was the lead guitarist from Fozzy playing like just the guitar bit for Jericho. And I don't think it was necessarily all his fault, but it's just like you're just playing guitar. He's not playing in time for like drums or bass, or there's nothing like keep his timing on point. But I just remember it being really weird.
That wasn't the MGF feud, was it?
It might have been actually, yeah, because it was a while ago. It was probably around that time. But yeah, I just thought, like it just didn't sound the same. But yeah, but still, regardless, it was a very cool entrance. But Will Ospreay's entrance was, the trunks. I'm pretty sure was like I'm guessing it was kind of like Dynamite Kid, British Bulldog. My first thought was British Bulldog, but then I remembered obviously because like one of his childhood heroes was Dynamite Kid.
Right.
But the trunks were very much reminiscent of British Bulldog's attire from Wembley main event SummerSlam '92.
Yeah, and we had a SummerSlam '92 moment with the Young Bucks and FTR.
Yes,
which I personally thought was going to be the finish because you know how much FTR loved Bret Hart.
Yeah, it was always going to happen, wasn't it? Just to call back on, because I did say this at the beginning of the podcast, but we talked about the Terry Funk spots. Those that come up in the Punk and Joe match.
Yeah,
but there was confusion about that. So there was the bit where he was being punched and he kept sort of like seesawing in between the ropes.
Yeah,
but it's that spinning toe hold, isn't it?
Yeah, so because some bloke behind me and my brother were like, thought he's trying to do a figure four, so he went, "Didn't move properly, you prick."
I'd say it's similar. It wasn't quite as aggressive, but because all day long and all throughout that stadium, any chance for a woo, that got contagious. Like that just kept going on, didn't it? Like that was an all-day thing. And yeah, there was and let me talk to you. Every 10 minutes I heard a let me talk to you like somewhere. But
it's funny, isn't it?
I know, yeah. But the as soon as he started, like when he grabbed the leg and he span round, the woos all came out, and I heard I just heard at the distance. It's just funny because it sounded like somebody was like walking like back out to go to the toilet or something at the start of the show, and they was walking like through like under the thing because it echoed, and all I heard was Space Mountain, baby. I was like, of all the things you could chant, and it wasn't even Ric Flair. But I think it's just because all he could hear was the woo, so he probably didn't see what was actually going on. But then people realised, I think when they clocked that it was obviously a homage to Terry Funk, it was like oh, that's really cool sort of thing.
Yeah,
but
because later on in the Stampede match, there was a branding iron spot.
Yes, there was. Yeah, we barely touched the Stadium Stampede. I thought that was great. Claudio and Kingston. I don't want to say they came near me, but they were sort of like closer to me than the rest of the action was for the night. Yeah. Somebody, a lady that I used to work with, if she ends up listening to this, her and her fellow went, and they had a great time as well. They was in that section, and I was talking to her, and she's got these videos. Like it was right in front of her. So that was a really good place where she was sat. But yeah, that was they just stayed on each other for the whole match, didn't they? Really, but then they kind of rehashed when Kingston come out in, was it Stadium Stampede, or it was one of those sort of matches where he came out as a zombie.
Yeah, but there wasn't as bloody this time.
No, it wasn't. Mind you, that it was Cassidy that had all the blood this time, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Because where I was, the Blackpool Combat Club was coming to the right of the entrance. So trying to figure out where they were at one point. Kind of like
I stood up trying to find him. I couldn't see him at all until they got in the ring.
It's weird explaining to someone who doesn't know why they're called Blackpool Combat Club when there's no one from Blackpool there, but still.
There never was. Regal's never. He wasn't. Not from Blackpool, but
he's close to us, and he's from Blackpool in his birth.
But that, I thought that was cool. I really enjoyed that.
It was a great match, but the problem with being in the crowd is compared to watching it like TV or whatever, is like it was hard to follow like some of the stuff because there's things like that happened and near where I could see and I couldn't understand what they were at the time. Because
you kind of had to like follow whatever you could see really as best as you could, wasn't it?
It was like there was a spot with not thumbtacks, Lego. No idea it was Lego.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. No, I have watched this match. I have watched the Stadium Stampede back since being at the show, and there's so much that I didn't see live. Right. Again, there's no way I'd have seen it like that part. And again, like a bit of a restricted view. But I was confused at one point with the. I thought maybe it would be a bit better when I was watching it back, and it kind of wasn't really. But it was Penta when he come back out as Penta Oscuro.
I didn't see him leave. Then he comes out again in a different costume, and then he breaks a ladder.
I think biggest pop, at least again in my section, was for Orange Cassidy getting the tape around his fist and then punching it into the glass.
Yeah, didn't know that was glass at the time because a certain point.
Well, again, I had to look at the screen for it, but it was like, okay, that's glass, and actually, that got me. We all went like
one of the biggest pops around my area is when the skewers on Moxley's head.
Yeah, of course he did it. I didn't see the ladder break for Penta's sunset flip.
Right.
So I know he went through it, but I just caught the screen like as he was going over, but I didn't see the bit before. He was climbing the other side of it, and it's a proper British ladder where it doesn't go. The steps aren't both sides.
Yeah.
And that bit just went.
It's always a problem because the amount of times I've seen like indie shows on Botched Mania when it's those types of ladders, they're not meant to be climbed in wrestling for wrestling.
Well, they're not meant to be climbed on the other side. That's why they don't have steps on them. So.
But the one thing that was a pain was concentrating on the swing and then seeing the suplex through the tables. Yeah, I didn't see what Cassidy finished off because at first I thought he went into the barbed wire board, but I don't think he did.
It took me ages to clock that was a barbed wire board. I just thought it was a table that hadn't been opened up for ages. Everyone
laughed at the end after the match happened, and Moxley and Kingston were in that board, and Kingston just the I wish there was a match at All Out instead of great. It's great that Orange Cassidy has this opportunity against Moxley to have on Sunday.
I think that'd be good. Yeah, I think that'll be a good match. But I think they told a good story between even just the two of them during that Stadium Stampede. That was probably my favourite Stadium Stampede. My favourite Stadium Stampede was the very first one because you didn't know what to expect, and I thought it was so entertaining. But it was a cinematic one.
Was that the Pinnacle Elite and Matt Hardy?
Yes.
The only thing I didn't like about that
was Pinnacle. It was the Inner Circle.
Inner Circle, same thing, really, wasn't it? If you think about it.
No, it wasn't.
Maybe I'm just thinking of Jericho Society. The only thing I didn't like about that one was it was the same week as Shad dying from drowning.
It was weird, and they did the Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy being drowned, but it was still a good match.
That was my favourite one, though. But I think since, again, a lot of that is all pre-recorded stuff and edited together. This being just like a live match. I mean, it basically is Anarchy in the Arena, but of course it's a proper stadium, so it can actually be Stadium Stampede. And so for that, I thought that was probably the best one. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it more than Anarchy in the Arena.
Do you know what I thought was going to happen? But I remembered, it's Anarchy in the Arena. They do that when they play Wild Thing like 20 minutes in a row.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I
brilliant.
enjoyed it.
What did you make of the women's? Yeah. What did you make of the women's?
It was okay, but it was more built around the Saraya and Tony Storm than it was anything else.
The whole thing was just leading to Saraya's big moment in front of a hometown crowd, wasn't it? Well, and you can't say anything against it. I thought it was brilliant, but the match overall, I think maybe it was just where it was on the card in a weird way. Because again, like it's not a bad match, but it's the one that people are kind of like jumping on the most.
Was it after Jericho or before?
I feel like it was before.
I need to look at the match card in a minute.
Maybe.
Because
maybe. A lot of people got confused with Tony Storm coming out to God Save the King, but you have to remember she's an Aussie, but like that is their anthem too. Like, and also I think it fits Tony Storm's kind of gimmick really at the minute. She's very kind of like, she's an Australian, British, American Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. Is basically it, isn't it?
But I've just seen it was the match was after the stadium and before the coffin.
Yeah, just sandwiched, wasn't it? But I suppose the way you get away with it is because Saraya was always going to get a huge part, like that was always going to happen.
And once again, coming out to Queen.
It had to happen, I suppose, didn't it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I did think it was a good match. I just think that it's the same as anything. Like you put the matches that are coming on more towards the end, when you're sat there for a very long time, you will dip a little bit.
Yeah.
And the only reason it was bringing it back up is because, again, Sting's entrance and Ospreay's match was great. Well, Jericho and Ospreay's match was great. And, like it kept you sort of going, but it is a long time to sit there for.
Yeah, considering that there was, apart from when they did the attendance, there was barely like any time to go have a break, have a Kit Kat. But the funny thing was, you know how we always made fun about the women's match in WWE is a piss break. There was a lot of people leaving to go to the toilet when that match was starting.
The thing is, it's in a place that big. You do kind of need to go during a match because everybody goes in between, and actually, you'd have probably taken the same amount of time as if you'd have just waited, because by the time you were actually in and you come back, the match has started anyway, and you're already in the match. So you might as well have waited until the match come on and then went, because then you're in and out.
Yeah, but you don't know how long. This is 9 minutes long. So personally, I don't want to miss like a finish because I feel like I missed something. Am I missing something special? But
yeah,
there was.
Well, I missed the entrances because I wanted to watch the match, but I did miss the entrance. Well, I missed. No, I did. I missed all the entrances for the women's one, but I was there for the match.
Because I think she had the less part, which is a shame. I think, but there's a couple of things that was memorable. One was the stomp onto Tony Storm.
Yep.
Saraya's
that was brutal. That was
There's no way to protect herself because she was in the I don't know what she called that move, the submission hold.
It's not the Rampage, is it?
No, the Rampage was the DDT, the finish.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, doing that and then doing the stomp. It was funny seeing Ruby come out for like 5 seconds and then going back
and storming off. Yeah, thanks for coming, Ruby.
That's not the first time they did that, and not the last for someone to just appear. Having Saraya's mum get involved, even though the whole family could have done something.
They were all there, though. I think it's a good moment, isn't it?
Like I said, I haven't watched it back, but if they mention 5 in my family, that'd be kind of weird.
I wonder if they would, because a lot of people. There was a chap sat next to me Really nice bloke, Michael. And Michael, if you end up seeing this, thank you very much for the beers, my friend. He was buying me pints all night. Really, really nice bloke. And again, another nice thing about when you're at a wrestling show and you meet great people. But he was explaining to me, he said that his girlfriend isn't sort of necessarily like a massive wrestling fan. Again, one of those sort of things, but she'd have been watching from home. And the biggest sort of like thing she has on wrestling is Fighting with My Family.
It's a good movie.
So seeing that, and then obviously then you're going to be really happy seeing Saraya win the match. But when he was telling me that, and it just made me think, it's one of those, like, I think you take a lot of that sort of stuff for granted. Like, to us, it's just like, oh yeah, they've made a film about Paige. But to other people, that's their introduction into somebody. And it's like such a bigger thing. Weirdly, it's probably, for some people, do you reckon it's like what Ready to Rumble is for us?
No, because Fighting with My Family is actually good. And didn't lead to a world title for no reason.
What about Suburban Commando?
Well, that gave us Undertaker before Undertaker was a name for WWE.
Yeah. Suburban Commando, best film ever made.
Listen, Annie. Brief.
Did you know that Hogan actually directed, produced, wrote all the music for it, and actually made all of the video copies of it himself by hand? That's what he said.
Did, yeah.
Probably. Yeah, that's probably what he said.
We're going back to the match.
You got to take a shot at Hogan somewhere, haven't you? It's too easy.
Yeah, but going back to the match. It was all right. It might have been the weakest of the night, but it did its job. We kind of knew Saraya was going to win.
It was always going to be about that pop at the end, wasn't it? It was always going to lead to that, and that's what you remember again. That's the takeaway from it. Yeah,
and kind of like with Sting, another person who we never thought would be wrestling in like capacity that they have. I would say personally, I think it's a bit too quick for her to come back to win the title, but what are you going to do?
It's the setting though, isn't it? It makes sense. You're going to do it in Wembley. It's same as Ospreay winning the biggest match, arguably, of his career. And like you said, in the span of like however many months it was, beating Jericho, Okada, and Omega, because again, we didn't really sort of talk about the match so much, but that's one of those. That's a good contender for a match of the night for people. I could see that being a match of the night for people. I thought it was really good, and I think it surprised a lot of people because the big worry from not everybody, again, it's just more cynical people, and we probably have to put ourselves in that to a degree. But one of the big sort of things was like, maybe Ospreay could have been in there with somebody more, like on his level for athleticism. But actually, it worked bloody brilliantly. And there was something beautifully poetic about seeing Jericho take a Stormbreaker, not once, but twice.
It was also funny seeing Jericho move around like he was in his 30s again.
Yeah. Jericho, no pun intended, genuinely, but Jericho and the entire roster really did go all out for this. Like, they just went, you know what, it's 80,000 people. Let's just go ham and let's just go crazy. And it was, the show was all the better for it. I don't know if we need to cover much more. Obviously, when we're talking about, you brought up a little while ago about we love a good diss on the British culture.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger disgrace than Prince Andrew.
Oh, man.
That got such a pop. I laughed so hard. I was like, that's brilliant.
Laughing so hard. I have no idea what he said after that, apart from, I think, Meghan Markle reference.
I think it was, but I was laughing really hard, and where I picked it back up again was the Harry Potter one with Harry, Hermione, and Ron Weasley. And I did watch, because I've seen the entrances back like as they were, like to watch them on TV. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure Buddy Matthews is trying not to laugh. It's just good. It was such a good entrance. Like the whole Sesame Daddy ass thing was there. Again, another nice feel good moment. Billy Gunn winning a title.
Yeah.
And Billy Gunn isn't going to get talked about enough here either. But Billy Gunn's another one of those where you just thought, actually kind of really lucky to see Billy Gunn.
Yeah, it's strange to say that. I wouldn't have said that a few years ago, but because of the Acclaimed, and even before that, when they brought Cole and Austin into AEW.
Yeah.
It's like, to think this only became because him not telling WWE about failing a drug test in bodybuilding. If he hadn't, who's to say what would happen if, like, in a alternative reality where he was still in WWE,
Yeah.
like, doing probably NXT or like whatever.
I'd be a producer or something now, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Brilliant though. Again, enjoyed that. House of Black entrance was awesome. Didn't they come out with the lanterns?
Yeah, they came out with lanterns, which I didn't
White
notice
tribute.
at the time.
No, but again,
Also,
really nice touch.
Probably the first person to ever kick out Black Mass, meant to kick out Black Mass.
Yeah, that meant to kick out the Black Mass. Yeah. I enjoyed that as well. That was a nice match to sort of put on just before the main event, where it all kind of went crazy.
It wasn't because it was funny because I said the stipulation is no holds barred, and it kind of reminded me of like a WWE no holds barred, where maybe there was like one or two chair shots, and that was it.
I think that's all it needed to be at that point, though, wasn't it? Because you had in the buy-in, and then you had it during the Stadium Stampede, you had it during the coffin match. You know, there was weapons like a lot throughout the night.
Yeah, which is a problem that AEW do have when they do like too many gimmick matches on the show. But I didn't mind it watching it back.
I think the fact, that you can give it a lot of passes because of what the show is, and because we were there. Of course, it's subjective, and of course there's bias there because you're there. It's a different experience live. But that main event, Ash, we should probably.
Well, before we get to the main event, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you saw this. Brody King injured his hand.
So this was another one of those though where the reports came out apparently that he'd hurt his hand backstage because he got angry about the Punk situation and punched the wall. Is what I read.
That's not true apparently, but it was
shock. Something you read on the internet wasn't true.
Apparently, it was during the match. He does a dive into the barricade.
There was a lot of those.
He tries to. I think he tries to do a crossbody into Billy Gunn he hits the barricade and breaks his hand there. Apparently.
Oh, okay.
I didn't notice at the time, but when I remember seeing it, because it showed. Once again, looking at the big screen, I could have seen it really with my own two eyes. But
and again, what a weird thing! Brody King doing a suicide dive through the ropes. The size that he is, that sort of stuff gets overlooked more now, and it really shouldn't. It's a simple move you see a lot, but when you're a guy that big, it's impressive as all hell. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we should get to the main event.
Main event. I'm not going to say too much about it. The whole show, you should just really watch it. But the main event, what was really special about this was that two men that kicked off the show from the buy-in closed the show against each other in a main event and managed to keep the whole crowd invested.
Yes, I'll give them that.
And it really was invested. It was brilliant. We were all kind of wondering what's going to happen. Someone's going to turn on someone. Adam Cole de facto heel in this match. Mad.
It's weird because like MJF's like one of the best heels in the last how many years you can say since like we've had this, and then Adam Cole's a good heel, but we'll have him as a heel in first match.
Out of the two, though, you'd say Adam Cole's the babyface, wouldn't you? But like there in Wembley, people were so into MJF. Like,
yeah, especially with that.
Most of the merch I saw people wearing out and about that wasn't Bray was MJF by far.
The
scarf, the shirts. Yeah. There were some people that even dressed up in full suits with the scarf on, like just full on MJF. It was like if you walked around Wembley during, before the show, it was MJF City.
Yeah, and that's another thing to go where. If it weren't for this storyline, I don't think it would have happened that way.
No, because it turned him into a face, and that's what's weird. Because I said on the predictions that I would see MJF being the one to turn because that'll be the way that they make him heel again. And now that something's going to happen down the road, you know what I mean?
Well,
but I think they sent the crowd home really happy with that finish.
Yeah, they're defending the tag titles at All Out against, I think, the Dark Order, which is weird considering it should really be not the Embassy, what they called Mike Bennett.
Oh, the Kingdom.
The Kingdom. It should be them if they're doing this thing with Roderick Strong. But yeah.
Yeah, but you know what AEW's like and what Tony's like. He likes that slow build, and sometimes that pays off, and sometimes it's like, was it a slow build, or did we just go off and do other side quests before we went back to the main quest? Because let's be honest, we've all done that on Skyrim. And for anybody that's out there playing Starfield on early access, because can't be waiting to play that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Early access is out at the moment. Right. If you bought the early access, yeah.
On Dynamite, they were teasing like there's going to be a number one contenders tournament because they don't do enough tournaments in AEW. And Roderick Strong said,
he can't help himself, can he?
You're
right, yeah.
Roderick Strong said to Adam Cole, like, I'm going to be the one that wins so I can do what you didn't do. So they're teasing
I like it. The whole Roddy interference thing was great, really, because especially towards the end of that match, Adam Cole is getting booed all the way through, really. Everybody's so pro MJF, but then they both start cheating. They've got the chair in the ring, both throwing it back and forth. Funny spot.
So
Cole
good.
does the Eddie Guerrero, falls down, pretends to be hit, so that when the refs come in too, because of course there's ref bump. And then MJF, before the ref gets up, goes, well, if you're doing that, I'll go one better. Wraps the chair around his own head and falls down. Really cool spot. But Roddy... What? That Roddy interference was really the heart of that story, wasn't it? Because you just thought, like, Cole's genuinely going to turn, but then MJF goes to use the ring, and he decides not to.
Yeah,
it was a big face moment for him too, and it will all sort of come together. And then when they do the hug at the end, I think it was a very, very positive ending that they did it on. The turn's going to come somewhere; it has to. That's the point. That's the story. But for there in Wembley, they ended it on a really high note that left everybody super happy.
Well, the high note at the end was Tony Khan trying to announce that All In at Wembley again.
Totally. He's just got to calm down, hasn't he?
Yeah. I love the main event. There's just one thing that bothered me.
You're going to say the same thing. I bet it's the same thing.
Adam Cole trying to get a count-out victory when you're not the champion.
Yes, and then being annoyed when MJF got back in the ring.
And
I saw it and I was like, I don't understand. Why would Adam Cole want a count-out victory? Because he'll win and not win the title unless we've missed something.
Yeah.
And that's a rule in AEW.
Unless there's something on TV that was said, it can change hands, but they didn't tell us this.
Maybe. It could be on us, but like, obviously, I didn't know about that. So I was like, why would he be happy about it? But yeah.
Another weird thing, but it was kind of funny, was going under the ring to get a shirt.
Yeah.
Of all the things under the ring, you get chairs, tables, t-shirt.
After the night that we'd had with all of the violence from the other matches, it was kind of, it made sense though, didn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought that was a really good match. And again, I think that could be a strong contender for a match of the night. My top three matches, FTR versus Young Bucks is definitely match of the night for me, but you could honestly pick and choose which one comes second and third between Punk and Joe and MJF and Adam Cole, because I thought they were both really just awesome.
Yeah, I think the main event just slightly does the opener.
Yeah,
but it's hard. And like, you go, where do you put the Stampede? Where do you put the Ospreay match? It's like,
what a good position to be in, though. You know, you've got a good show where you can have that kind of dilemma. It's a great place to be. But we don't need to do that, Ash, because someone's done it for us. And I know you're absolutely dying to give us Meltzer's reviews. So why don't you reel those off?
Yeah, well,
before we close today's episode.
In order, right? So the Ring of Honor tag title match, 2.75.
2.75? Interesting. Okay.
Hook, Jack Perry, 3.25.
Okay.
Punk and Joe, 3.5. Which I think is very unfair.
That's quite low, yeah.
Very low. The Golden Elite versus Bullet Club Gold and Takesha, 4.5, which I think is way too much personally, but I'll have to see it again to say. We might do this again next week and go, actually, that match was probably one of the best matches of the night.
We still need to really watch the whole thing back properly, don't we? Yeah. Like, as it's presented on TV.
FTR versus the Young Bucks, 4.75.
Mm-hmm.
Stadium Stampede, 4.5. The women's title match was 2.75. Profit match
Seems
was
a bit unfair.
4.25. What was that?
Seems a bit unfair for the women's one, I think, but
It is, but
it's one man's opinion. You
yeah,
know, it's not. You have your own.
yeah,
People need more of their own opinions these days, really.
yeah. So the cover match was 4.25. Osprey Jericho 4.75. 2.5 for the trios title, and 4.5 for the main event.
Yeah, good show, good solid show.
It's funny because I don't want to compare like Clash and All In because they're completely different shows, but
Yeah.
no 5 stars for this, 5-star for Clash.
Well, when you talk about comparisons, I've seen people saying, you know, it's a WrestleMania crowd, but it didn't have a WrestleMania feel. And I think that's kind of the point, though.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to a WrestleMania. WrestleMania, the only thing that's going to have a WrestleMania feel is WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. This was its own thing. We've never had this before. Never had this before. You don't get shows like that. We missed earlier on, obviously, another big crowd, of course, but that Collision in Korea. But
Yeah, but
again, very different
that,
thing. Well, no, but it's not meant to be WrestleMania. It was All In, and I think based on what it was fantastic. Are there any match of the year candidates in there?
Tag title match.
I'd say if we hadn't already had some absolute barn burners this year, then there could have been. But I think it's going to be very difficult to top Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay too.
Well, that one, the first one, the triple threat.
The first one was fantastic. Oh yeah, even the triple threat. But again, it's not always about that. It's did you have fun? That's what wrestling is. Did you have fun? Ash, did you have fun?
I had a hell of a lot of fun. I was not bored, even though I was sat in the same seat for much of like 5 hours. I was sore the next day, and it's like,
yeah, but it's worth it.
I didn't care. I enjoyed the show to death, and it's up there with like moments of my life. I'm happy I was there for.
Yeah, a moment in history that we were there for. And again, as I say, special for you there with family, special for me there with my dad. Roll on next year, man.
Yeah.
We'll be back again. Closer seats, hopefully. I have to fork out some more money, ain't I?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to open this OnlyFans.
All right, Lacey Evans. All right, that's that's fan time, and she's done.
Yeah, this is a different thing.
Yeah, is it the same thing as Mandy Rose?
I don't know. I don't actually really follow mine. Just see what's in the news on those bits. I'm not deprived, Ashley.
Right.
Not that deprived, anyway. But if you want to buy pictures of my feet, I'll sell them for. I don't know how much they go. I have to do some comparisons when I see what people sell feet pics and bathwater for. This took a weird turn.
Yeah, why have you done that for?
I don't know. This is what we do. And you can catch more of what we do every week from here on out on the TMOF Wrestling Podcast. We hope you have had a great time with us as we've gone very all over the place in very non-linear fashion, talking about our experience of AEW All In. But we've talked about that like we were almost kind of kids again. And I probably wouldn't have that any other way.
No, same here.
But if you were there at AEW All In, why don't you leave us some comments? Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, leave them in the comments below. You can leave comments on Spotify and I believe some of the other podcasts and platforms as well. But do leave some comments. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know if we've missed anything, what your good experiences were. Was it your first time? Even just at Wembley Stadium, because what a venue. It was my first time in Wembley Stadium.
My second time.
There you go. Huge place. But let us know what you thought, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us on the show. We'll be back next week. I'll be going through a review of WWE Payback and potentially All Out. Yeah. Potentially All Out.
There's a lot of wrestling to get through, isn't there?
It's a lot, yeah. So I can't make any promises, but I will be. I know I'll definitely be going through Payback. It's not because I'm favouring one over the other, but Payback's going to be a shorter show. And in my older age, I quite like that. But you can catch that. That will be on Friday next week. So that'll be Friday the 8th. There you go. Nailed it.
Every new month today. Crazy.
3 years, Ash. 3 years.
Yeah.
Here's to another 3.
That it. That's what we're doing.
That's it. Yeah, we're gonna do 6 years. 6 years and we're done. That's a good career.
So that'll be episode number 89.
Yeah, probably at this rate. No, we look forward to seeing you next week, guys, here on TMOF Wrestling Podcast. Leave your reviews. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. Do make sure to look after each other. Stay safe and catch you again soon.
Yeah. Me, Ash.
I'm Russ. But yeah, you already know that, don't they?
All right, Dario.
See you later. Don't you ever call me Del Rio again. I'll shave all your hair off.